Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me on this next unit. You made it through all the confusing stuff about the brain. So our next unit is the psychology of learning, which it kind of sounds like it's gonna be another boring unit about how we learn stuff. Is this a repeat of the memory unit? But actually, no. The psychology of learning is more about how we learn certain behaviors and kind of what reinforces or punishes those behaviors, how different factors influence our behavior, how to change other people's behavior. So if you're looking to manipulate people, these videos are for you. How we develop fears, and also conditioning. There's classical conditioning and operative conditioning. So hope that you're kind of interested in this. Um, we did a brief experiment in class where we were like, okay, so we sent one student out of the room and we're like, okay, so how do we get her to do a behavior that we want? So we're like, all right, what's the behavior? How about we get her to stand on top of this desk right here by using um, by using rewards and punishments. So, if you remember back from the Foundations of Psychology unit, we were talking about the behavioral perspective of psychology. It was how do we learn to fear certain objects? How do rewards and punishments shape our actions? All about that. So that's kind of what this unit is about. So if you remember, B.F. Skinner was a main person for that. Yeah. So, anyways, we're like, how are we gonna get her to stand on this desk? Just by using rewards and punishments. So, we use the words hot and cold to get her to stand on the desk. So, it actually worked. It was I was thinking it wasn't gonna work at first. I was like, that's kind of complicated. She was walking in, we're like, oh, as long as she's walking toward the desk, we were saying hot. Then when she walked away, we'd say cold. And then she was really confused. She just stood at the desk for I don't know, a solid 5 minutes, just wait, what do you want me to do with this desk? She tried sitting down in the desk, and anyways, eventually she leaned against it, and then we were all hot, hot, and then she finally got up and actually stood on top of it, and you're like, wow, we did it, just by using hot and cold. Which is a reward is hot, a punishment is cold. So today we're going to focus on operant conditioning, and this is about you do a behavior and then something happens as a result of that behavior, afterward, a consequence that makes you more or less likely to do that behavior again in the future. So, a few terms to know is reinforcement. That means that the consequence makes you more likely to do it, the action, the behavior again in the future. For example, you prepare your bag a night before so you're not stressed out in the morning. That's a positive result. So you're going to be more likely to do that again in the future. A punishment is something that makes you less likely to do that behavior in the future. For example, if you stay up late and you're tired the next day, that is going to make you less likely to stay up late again in the future. And welcome to math class, because positive is meaning addition. So when we say positive, that does not mean good, it means addition. You're adding something. Negative means subtraction, taking something away. It does not mean bad. So this brings us to the 4 types of operant conditioning. The first one is positive reinforcement. Now, this is the most basic one. Positive meaning you're adding something. Reinforcement meaning that it makes you more likely to do that behavior again in the future. So you do a behavior, something positive gets added, something pleasant or good gets added, and it makes you more likely to do that behavior again in the future. For example, you go to work, that's the behavior, then you get paid. So you're adding something that is desirable. You're giving them money. And then that's a reinforcement because it makes you more likely to do that again in the future. If you've ever been in like a class where they give you candy when you participate, that's positive reinforcement. They're giving you something, it's more likely you'll do it again in the future. You do your homework to get points. You bake a cake so that you can eat the cake. Or if you give someone like a compliment on their outfit, maybe they'll be more likely to wear that again in the future because you're giving them something. Um, or if you even just like say hi to someone, they say hi back. That's reinforcing for you to say hi to them again because they responded to you, and that's like adding something. The next type of operant conditioning is called positive punishment. And this might sound confusing, but we can break it down again. So, positive meaning that you're adding something, punishment meaning that you will be less likely to do that again in the future. So, if you're adding something that makes it less likely for you to do it again in the future, that likely means that whatever you're adding is kind of an unpleasant consequence. For example, if you do something bad and then you get yelled at, that would be positive punishment because you're adding something that makes you less likely to do it again in the future. Or if you get hurt like by doing something, like if you jump off something too high and then you get hurt, that you're adding that pain and it makes you less likely to do it again in the future. The next one is negative reinforcement. So, negative meaning you're removing something, reinforcement meaning that you're more likely to do that again in the future. So, whatever you're removing, it's probably unpleasant if it means you're more likely to do it again in the future. So, for example, when you don't like wear your seatbelt in the car and it starts beeping at you, but then when you put your seatbelt back on, it stops beeping. So, putting on the seatbelt is the behavior, and then it removes that annoying beep, makes you more likely to do that again in the future. Also, like if you take your dog outside for a walk or just in the backyard, it will remove that they would go to the bathroom in the house. So that's reinforcing that you let them out. Also, if you buy like a membership on YouTube, then you won't have ads. So it's like taking away something, and it makes taking away those ads makes you more likely to pay for the membership. Also, like if your phone alarm is going off in the morning, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get up. But you turn it off, you're removing that annoying sound. If your parents are like nagging you to like clean your room or do something, then you decide to clean your room so they'll stop bothering you. You might take like ibuprofen to get rid of a headache. You might drink coffee so you don't feel tired. So these are all things you do to remove an unpleasant thing, and it's like reinforcing that you do that again. The last one is called negative punishment. So this is removing something, and then as a result, it makes you less likely to do that behavior in the future. So, whatever you're removing is a positive thing. It's like a good thing if it's making you less likely to do that again in the future. For example, it's extreme, but committing a crime and going to jail, that behavior removes all your freedom, makes you less likely to commit a crime. Getting grounded, you are, not allowed to have your phone or not allowed to see your friends or not allowed to play video games or whatever it may be, that's taking away something, and it makes you less likely to do whatever behavior got you grounded in the future. Funny example would be like the silent treatment. So your friend stops talking to you because I guess like they're mad at you. So it's like they're removing that social interaction as a way of like punishing or like making it so you don't do that whatever behavior in the future. If you if you bet all your money on something and then you lose, that's taking away something, your money, and then you're less likely to do a bet in the future. Um, Also, for a little kid, if you like take away their toys, and it's also extreme, but like if you get like I think a suspension or something when you're in like middle school, and then you can't have the privilege of like going on the eighth grade trip, or like go to Six Flags or whatever it is. Um, so that would definitely be a good example. Um, if you would like, you can pause the video and see if you can figure out which type of operant conditioning would be hot, saying hot, and which type of operant conditioning would be saying cold. So the answer, I think, is that hot would be positive reinforcement because you are adding something and it's reinforcing that that behavior is good. Moving toward that desk is good, and you're adding something. And I think that cold would be positive punishment because you are actually adding something by saying cold, and that what you're adding is making it less likely for the person to do that behavior again. So hopefully you enjoyed and learned from this video. Maybe if you would like, try and think of some personal examples you have of these types of operant conditioning. And also you could observe like your own behaviors and also the behaviors of others, like maybe your teachers, your friends, just seeing how we all like use these to impact each other's behaviors and how our behaviors are impacted by all these types of conditioning.